Hello everyone, welcome to this Photon Devlog episode where we take a look at the interpreter mode and some other new features of Photon. So now we have the REPL, the Read Eval Print Loop, or the interactive mode where you can code and see the results right away. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so let's take a look at the interactive coding mode or the interpreter. So we just type Photon in your command prompt and press enter. And now you are in the interactive coding mode. So here we have Photon, the version, and the engine that is running the code. So here we have the PyEngine. It means that it uses the Python transpiler to run the code. Okay, so for now we are using the Python transpiler, but maybe we can improve and add more engines in the future. So to exit this mode, you can just type exit and press enter, and you exit the interpreter. So let's enter here and see what we can do in here. So you can do pretty much the same that we just are doing in the scripts. So a equals 5, for example, and then print 5, and the result is immediately written in the console here. Okay, so we can just do hello world, and the result is printed here. So you can test more easily the syntax of Photon. Okay, right. So what else we can do here? We can also do for loops. So for I in 0 to 10, print I. So the 3 dots indicates that it wants more code because it needs the indented block. So we provide the indented block, and now we don't want to add more things, then we just press enter to finish, and it will execute this block of code. So it prints from 0 through 9. Okay, we can also define functions. So def add int a, int b, and then colon to define the block of code. We have the 3 dots. We can indent here and return a plus b, and we don't want to add more in the block. Then we press enter, and now we have the function add here available. So we can do print add 5 and 6, and it prints 11. Okay, but we also have another way of printing stuff without explicitly using the print function. So we can just say add 5 and 7, for example, and it will automatically evaluate this expression and print the result. So we don't need the print as we need using the script. Okay, so this means we can use this as a calculator. For example, 8 plus 7, and then it prints the result 15. Okay, so we can do a lot of stuff here. Right. Okay, let's see what other things we have in Photon now. So let's create a main.w file. Then we can define lists now. So if we say a equals and then brackets, we create a list, and we can add elements by just typing them here. So we created a list of ints, and we can access these individual elements by the index. So if we want to print the first element, then we type brackets and the index 0, which is the first element. So let me create another terminal here and run Photon main.w and then we have 1, which is the first element on the list, right? And we can say another index here, and it will print. And we can also say the last element of the list by negative number. So -1 means the reverse order, so the last element. So this should print 9. So let's try to do that, and it prints 9. So -2 is the 8, and so on. And if we try to reach a number that don't exist outside of the range, then for example 14, then Photon says index error. The array has 9 elements, but you are trying to access the 14th element. Okay, so we have error messages too. Right, what else can we do with lists? We can also use them in for loops. So for element in A, then we can just print the element. So just like Python, you can iterate over the elements of the list. So here we can see Photon, and then we have all of the elements of the list here printed. Okay, right. What else can we do here? We don't need to specify the elements here. We can just say an empty string, but there's a catch here. Because Photon is a static type language, we need to identify what type of elements are in this list. So we don't have dynamic values yet. So we need to identify that this is a list of ints. So we type here int, and then we can say do the same thing, but it won't print nothing because there is nothing in this list. However, we can add elements to the list. So if we say for I in 0 through 20, then we include the number I to the list. So this is the syntax to include a number into the list. Okay, let's try to do that. It will include from 0 to through 20, which is up to 19, and then we are going to print this element. So let's try to run that, and here we have 0 through 19. So we expand and include dynamically these elements into the list. Okay, we can also hint the size of the array. So you can increase the performance if you know the size ahead of time. So I know that this list will be 20 elements. So I can say colon 20, and then it will provide enough space in the beginning. So it won't reallocate the memory and all that, and so you have increased performance in this way. So if you know ahead of time, then you can hint here. Okay, so let's try to run that, and it goes the same way. So imagine if you hinted, okay, this will be more or less 20, but actually we want to include more items. Then no problem, Photon will just allocate 20 elements first, and if you try to include more elements, then it will dynamically reallocate and provide enough space for the 40 numbers. Okay, so no problem there. But if you say a number that's close, then you can increase performance. Okay, so these are the new features of Photon. I hope you liked, And if you did, please help by liking the video and subscribing to the channel to receive the next devlogs. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.